January, like I wanted to jump back. 2024, how are you? Good to have you here. My name is Ijoma Uche. This morning, if possible, we're going to look at a very nagging topic that if you sit back, I'm sure you must go home with something. Okay, the topic is access to justice. When you hear this one, you go, yes, okay. But this time around, we're going to narrow it down to propagating criminal justice and prison reforms in Anambra State. Okay. Thank you very much. That's what we're going to look at. And I can't talk on this, though a broadcaster is supposed to know a little of everything. I don't think I even know anyone here, because so that's why I assembled some professionals that are going to talk on that. Okay. The first person is Barrister Jerry Emebie. Barrister Jerry Emebie is the Principal State Counsel, Anambra State Minister of Justice. Barrister Jerry is also a prosecution lawyer. Good morning, Barrister.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
Welcome. Hope you're not going to prosecute me today.
No.
Or put it to me as usual.
No.
All right. Thank you. I also have a Barrister Ifeanyi Ogejiofor. Barrister Ifeanyi Ogejiofor is the Assistant Chief State Counsel and the legal advisor to the Secretary to the State Government, SSG. Wow. You're welcome, Barrister.
Thank you for having me.
Look, I'm not going to commit, Abby.
No.
Okay. Welcome. Feel free. This is your station. It's Anambra Broadcasting Service, so it belongs to all of us. Okay, you've heard my intro concerning what we're going to talk about today, access to justice. Let's just bring it home, okay, before we get to where we want to narrow it. What does it mean when you say you have access to justice? Or somebody should have an access to justice so that but that's what it sounded like. Okay. Yes.
Thank you very much. To set the ball rolling on a broader sense, access to justice simply means the ability of every citizen to access the courts, tribunals, and other legal remedies to ventilate their grievance, whenever their rights are infringed upon, without suffering undue advantage or limitations, maybe by their condition of financial conditions, social standing, or vulnerability of any kind. It means, therefore, that everybody is expected to have a level playing field in assessing the institutions of justice.
On paper.
Not on paper. We're trying to make it practical.
Okay, you're trying to make it practical. Okay. Yes, Barrister Ifeanyi, let's focus more on this. How can I have access to justice? Is it, like, if I don't have money, like you mentioned, irrespective of your status or your financial status this time around, so free bonus, okay, go that way. Pro bono. Pro bono, okay. Is that one, is it available for there where you go?
Yeah, it's indeed available for the indigent. Actually, it is one of the principles that are inculcated into lawyers. Okay. And also one of the requirements for lawyers who are, desirous of going to the inner bar, that you must do some pro bono cases for the indigents. And just like you said before, it is not just on paper. In Anambra State, there have been laws put in place to ensure that the citizens have access to justice. Before now, we used to make use of the Administration of Criminal Justice Law of Anambra State 2010. But there has been a review of the law to bring in innovations and practices in line with international best practices to ensure that everybody has access to justice. And access to justice is not just at that preliminary stage of being able to access justice. But when the machinery of justice is put into motion, other avenues that will enable the citizens to be able to have proper access to justice and reach a reasonable conclusion and get actually remedy from the machinery of justice. So it is not just about being able to access justice, but when the machinery of justice is set into motion, to ensure that all parties are treated equally and fairly.
When you say machinery of justice, what does that mean?
Now, when, for example, a matter has commenced in court, and there are other procedures that's like rules of court, for example, to ensure that the machinery of justice is into motion and that eventually the parties get justice. Now, if during that process a particular party is frustrating another party, then the other party may not be able to, cannot in all fairness say that he has access to justice or that he's getting justice. Like I was discussing with my colleague before.
Party now, when you mean party, when you say party, you mean the two people that have case?
The two people that have case. Yeah.
Okay.
Like let me give you an example.
What about the role of the police? People that are assuming that somebody is in a custody and the person is supposed to be coming to court.
It's all part
of the machinery.
Yes, it's all these issues I'm making are all part of the machinery of justice.
Okay,
to ensure that at the end of the day, that justice, the machinery of justice, is in motion, that no particular party can, of his own free will and accord, put a clog on the wheel of justice.
Okay.
So there are procedures, there are rules of court, like I just mentioned one, Administration of Criminal Justice Law 2022, which is a new law that has several innovations to make sure
Anambra.
Yes, Anambra,
okay.
Yes. And when it comes to prisons too, you know that the issue of prisons have been removed from the exclusive list. So every state can now make laws on prison. And in Anambra State right now, there is currently a bill, to look into the prison reform, and create procedures and rights and remedies that will ensure that inmates are not, their rights are not infringed upon. In Anambra State right now, there is a bill on prison reform.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, before we get to the prisons now, let's look at how can we ensure equal access to justice for all members in the society, regardless of your status. I hope I'm not repeating this question because I really want to get to this. Okay, it's not that that's access, you have access to justice. How can we ensure that? Because there are people that don't even know that they have this right, to access justice when they have a case. Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Thank you very much. Well, access to justice for me is an ideal which all the stakeholders in the justice sector are aspiring to achieve. And then we try to work, it's a standard that guides every action in the justice sector. It's not a place that is easily attainable at one point, so it's a progressive thing. Now, to allow many people access to justice, there has to be first and foremost awareness. Many people, like you said, many people are not aware of their rights and privileges. And that is why we have the national orientation agencies and other agencies and stakeholders who now go to the hinterlands, to the ordinary people, to teach them one or two things about their rights. Like we have the Chapter 4 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as altered, which provides all the rights, fundamental rights of citizens. Many people are not aware of these rights. We have the right to life, right to liberty, right to dignity, right to unjust criminalization and victimization, right to movement and other ones. But many people are not aware. And when these rights are infringed upon, there are also legal procedures which are available to the aggrieved person to seek redress. And some of these people are not aware. But that's just one. After awareness, The next thing is to put in place those institutions that guarantee this access.
No, before you leave this, whose duty is it to create the awareness?
Well, like I said, what we are doing now is creating awareness.
It's not enough.
It's not enough, but it's one of it. I said there are also other agencies like the National Orientation Agency.
Okay.
We also have the print media, the radio, broadcasting, and then we have the legal aid, FIDA, and other agencies, even the Ministry of Information. Like on one occasion, we have been to the prison to enlighten the inmates on one of the innovations of the SCJ that my learned friend mentioned, which is on plea bargain as an option to criminal trial in court. There's this plea bargain now that people can negotiate outside of the court, even in criminal trial. The negotiated agreement, it has been used from time to time. You know about the popular Cecilia Ibru case? That was plea bargain that was operational. And we know about Olisa Metu and the rest of it. And they've also kind of negotiated.
Is the plea bargain only for the elites?
That's what many people think. But now we are making
what it looks like.
That's not what it is. That's why I'm talking about awareness. When people are not aware, it's only the elite that are aware of most things. And that's why they assess it.
Yes.
I'm looking at a situation where the lawyers in Anambra State will organize themselves under MBA or whatever, and start moving from community. You all come from communities. This is what is available for you guys. You understand? Because it's more than I get radio, I watch TV. A lot of people are their duty post. So there are things we need to do to get closer to the people.
You're very right. This is one of the ideas. So you are bringing up an idea too.
Oh, yes.
Lawyers are also being sensitized.
Yes.
The MBA.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Yes. The Anambra Justice Sector Reform Team, which I happen to be a member, occasionally conducts training, not just for MBA, but the lawyers in the Ministry of Justice, the police. So if these critical stakeholders in the criminal sector are not trained, or if they are not aware of some of these innovations, then the general public wouldn't know.
Okay, so, where is this innovation now? Is it in this new one that you are talking about? Because
Yes.
I'm coming to you.
Yes.
Okay, can you give us, can you peep inside it? Because it's not been passed.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
it is a law right
It's
now.
a law already.
Yes, operational.
Okay, let's get to know. What is
Yes.
it about the prisons? What are in place?
Okay, you're talking about
In
the
the
prison.
bill.
It's still a bill.
It's still a
It's
bill.
still a bill,
Yeah.
It's not been passed. So that's
I'm
what I'm
talking
saying.
about
Is it
that-
possible we'll just get one or two tests inside there?
I'm just talking about the Administration of Criminal Justice Law
Okay.
of 2022,
Okay.
which is more of an encompassing law, that guides the procedures of criminal administration.
Okay.
So that one has a lot of innovations to aid access to justice. For example, it is now law that the magistrates would once every 3 months or 4 months visit police stations, to take record of those who are unjustly detained, who have not been able to, have their day in court. So that's number one. And then number two, issue of during prosecution, when the prosecutor closes his case, by the new Administration of Criminal Justice Law, the defense must disclose whatever they intend to rely upon in their defense. Disclosing it means filing it in court and serving on the prosecution. That helps a lot in curtailing unnecessary adjournments and having quick dispensation of justice, so that the prosecution would know what the defense are bringing to the table and prepare themselves in order to ensure that they diligently do their matter. So there are a lot of innovations in that Administration of Criminal Justice Law 2022.
Just to add to, because I thought you were asking about the prison reform bill.
Yes, I wanted us to finish this and then
Okay.
we'll get to the reform bill.
Okay.
Okay, are we done with this so that we can look at the reform bill? That's what I want to know, what is inside it. Because this is an Anambra package now.
Yes.
Okay, I think we'll have a lot of issues with our own. So we need to know what is it's concerned, are we done with the criminal justice something? Has anybody gone around to see your number one that it is now a law for justice to go around and see if there's anybody?
The magistrates.
Magistrates.
Yes.
Has anybody done that in the States?
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Yes.
For how long now?
They do, since the inception of the law.
Has anybody been set free?
Well, yes, a number of them.
I wouldn't know.
A number of them, but I cannot give you statistics because I know one magistrate that has been very active in doing that is Worship Mike Anyadiegu.
Yes.
He visits the police from time to time, even before the coming into effect of this law.
Yes.
It was somehow in the previous law, but it was not detailed.
Yes.
But now it is very detailed. He was doing it. And things are moving.
Okay. Even the issue of plea bargain was also clearly captured very well in that new administration of criminal justice law. Yes.
Okay. Has anybody assessed plea bargain here? Apart from Olisa, you mentioned that one, but that was at the federal level, Anambra State.
Yes. I happen to be a member of the committee on plea bargain here.
Okay.
And we have had quite a number of applications. In short, we have actually used it in a number of cases. Now, even though it's not celebrated, you know, there are a number of cases that we have disposed of by plea bargain option here in Anambra. More are coming.
Okay, that's cool. All right, let's get to that prison bill that is cooking now. What do we expect? Is it going to be an extension of the national one, or is that okay? Let me get. Is there going to be state and national prison reform?
Yes.
Yes.
But every state has taken ownership of their own prisons now. Is there any prison that is not in a state? So what is the federal doing?
The prisons, which is correctional center, by the way.
Yes.
Okay.
But the terminology has been changed.
The terminology has changed.
The ones we have now are the federal correctional centers.
Okay.
We don't have any state correctional centers right now.
Okay, I thought with this reform you have taken ownership of this and make it states.
That's not the purpose of the law.
You are going to build another one for states?
Yes. It was removed from the exclusive list and brought into the concurrent list, which means the state and the federal can now operate on the same law, you know, simultaneously.
Yes.
So the state will now develop its own state correctional facilities. It's part of what is in the bill, and the bill is very, very innovative because the emphasis is now moving away from punishment, you know, which the people have often viewed prison sentence as, is now moving to correction and reform, rehabilitation of the individual. And so you see in this bill that there are provisions like education of the inmates.
It's been there.
Yes.
Most people graduated from the prisons.
Yes, I know, but the practicality of it is what we have been missing. Yes. Even though it's been there in the old law, but now it has now been well detailed.
It's a must now that you must go to school.
Not a must. Those that want to go to school, there's a place for them. And those that want to learn trade or other crafts, yes, they have a place to learn it. And then even provision of remuneration for them when the inmates are used to do labor, which they are often used for. Now the law provides for a percentage of that, the income, to accrue to them, and they have to be put into their account so that when they leave prison, they would have earned some money to start life with. And even when they leave prison, there's also a mandate that the state will fund them with certain percentage of money so that they'll start off life.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
These are in the new bill.
The new bill, does it contain, what do you call it, the preservation of human dignity? Because when you get to the correctional centers and see where they eat, see where they sleep, see where they do a whole lot of things, you see that these people are not treated like human beings. Does it contain anything like that?
Yes. The innovations in this new bill would mean that the state government will have to build new correctional facilities that can be able to contain state inmates. And apart from the facilities, when you talk about dignity, the inmates are not supposed to be discriminated against. They are supposed to be treated like every other human being, dignity of person, right to recreation. Because if you go to prisons in Amobia or the correctional center in Amobia, it is not big enough, and you would be thinking, where do these people normally have their recreation? But I believe that the new correctional facilities that will be, created by the state government would be big enough to make provisions for where the inmates, can do their recreation. And other facilities like exercise or gym facilities, library, all those things should be in the prison facilities, because it is one of the international laws that prison inmates should not be discriminated against. They ought to be treated like every other human being. The only difference is that they are, their liberty, is restricted. Yes. So that's just the only difference. Yeah. Okay.
When we get to that, I wouldn't want to ask you if there's any provision for land, or has any construction started, where you will have to, build to decongest the prisons. But be it as it may, when it's put in place, you said federal and state. Do we still have state inmates and federal inmates? What does that mean?
With respect to
your crime?
The offenses created by the state government. Yes, offenses created by the laws of the state government. Inmates who are convicted will now go to such state correctional facilities.
Okay, I was thinking if you're from Anambra, you go to Anambra prison. If you're not from Anambra, you go to federal prison.
No, it's with respect to the offenses.
Okay, so let's see how communities can contribute to this innovation, the new innovation that's coming up for correctional centers. Is there anything that is expected of communities to do? I'm coming to you, Mbe.
Yes, the community has always been a very vital stakeholder in the justice sector. And community leaders are expected, even from the outset, to ensure that there is proper security and accountability of all the indigents within their community. And then communities where these correctional facilities will be sited will be required to cooperate with the state government by providing land. They will provide land where these facilities will be built. Like I'm aware, there's a proposition to build the reformatory or Buster home somewhere towards Umunze. Yes. It's already on ground. I believe there's something like that. Yes, because we don't have it as at yet. But it's with the incursion of and the support of ROLAC, which is the Rule of Law and Anti-Corruption Agency, they have supported the Anambra state government and other states to develop so much in the justice sector, particularly in the area of building institutions or facilities. And so the communities are expected to cooperate. And where needs be, they will also be required to assist the state government in providing perhaps like feeding and other financial aid to the inmates when that takes off. There will be a kind of corroboration.
And again, with respect to sensitization of the indigents, with respect to their rights and privileges in order to be able to access justice. So the president generals and leaders of these communities can also help in that regard. The churches too can also help in that sensitization, and I know that some churches do this. When they, during their celebrations, they mention some of all these innovations in the criminal justice sector to their believers and worshippers. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Well, let's look at how this current legal framework how can it address issue of systematic inequality within the criminal justice system. I have said that in a lighter mood. I want us to take it seriously now. Okay, is it factored into this bill that is that is on now. That's how the legal framework is going to address the issue of inequality.
It has always been part of the criminal administration in Anambra State. But the Administration of Criminal Justice Law of 2022 merely brought in more of innovations to make it easier. The police have a role to play. The access to justice has always been there, but the Administration of Criminal Justice made it easier. Now, it's quite sad that most of the indigents in our community do not know about some of these the innovations and laws. And I believe that that is the most critical aspect of it. That is the most critical aspect of it, that they have to, you know, make sure that they are aware of some of these rights, you know, because when somebody is unaware of a particular right, then there's no way the person can be able to, you know, have the benefits.
Access.
Yes. So I think the most important thing, the critical thing to do is this awareness. That awareness has to be created in our institutions, in our schools, in our churches, in the community level. All these things has to be done so that people can become aware of these rights.
Okay.
Yeah.
One other innovation that is very major that need mention is that, you know, before now, when somebody is aggrieved, maybe his right is violated, and it constitutes both civil and criminal matter. The law was that you ventilate the criminal aspect of it first, and then you go and still maintain civil action, which is cumbersome. But now this CJL has now made provisions whereby in one single action, even in criminal, that the court can still award damages to the same person without the need for you to fall back to civil action afterwards. Yes, that is the law now. And another innovation similar to it is that when somebody brings you to court, like vexatious actions without any just cause, if after trial the judge or magistrate is of the opinion that this action ought not to have been instituted in the first place, it can award damages. Yes. It wasn't the law before, but now the court can award damages against the party that brought you to court. You know, so
you don't just drag people to court.
You don't just drag. So now it's like a double-edged sword now. So everybody will be careful. You that is dragging somebody to court, you're also careful, because you know that in the end, if you are unable to show good cause, not that you lost, but good cause, the court will come down heavily on you.
Okay. And yes. Before now, the issue of some defendants trying to frustrate the administration of justice has always been there. But it's also one of the innovations in the administration of criminal justice of 2022, that the magistrate or the high court can try the defendant in absentia. If the defendant intentionally, while on bail, decides not to come to court, the court can adjourn the matter once or twice and thereafter proceed against the defendant, despite the fact that the defendant is not in court.
Really?
Yes. It's one of the innovations in
because sometimes they use this to delay justice.
Yes. So that's what we are talking about. So, and at the end of the day, if the defendant is convicted, the defendant will be arrested wherever he is, and he becomes an ex-convict.
Really?
Despite the fact that he wasn't in court, yes. Yes.
I like this, because I was in a discussion with one area commander yesterday, and they were talking about how police delay justice. And he was trying to say that it's not police, so that sometimes it's the you lawyers that are feeding in the case, that wouldn't want the case to just finish.
Yes.
Okay, but we're going to talk about that. But when we come back, we're going to look at the role that technology can play in enhancing access to justice in prison reforms. Okay. All right, do stay as we take a short break. We're coming back now.
Everybody's right to get justice, but unfortunately in Nigeria, the common man does not really have access to justice. That's just the truth. Because if you ask some person, they'll tell you that it's better for you to stay away from trouble, because when you get yourself into trouble, you won't have anybody to even stand for you. We hear cases of people who did not even commit the crime, maybe it was alleged, but they can't really get maybe a lawyer to stand for them. Number one, the cost of even hiring a lawyer is too much. That's just the truth. A lot of persons are in prison today, suffering from crimes they did not commit, or they even committed that crime probably, but they don't even have anybody to push for them, or maybe the offense is not as severe as the punishment they are getting. So the access to justice is not really tangible. That's how I put it. The common man does not really have access to justice. That's just it. And I think that our judicial system should really work on that aspect.
The poor people, they are the ones suffering. Because you will see in a situation that the poor committed, maybe the poor and the rich committed a crime. Because the rich, they know so many people, that rich can actually go scot-free, and the poor will go with the thing more than you even expect in the cell. So access to justice in Nigeria is very, very, very poor. That even if a poor person actually committed a crime, the family of the person will be crying because they don't have money to employ a lawyer. And if we are looking at the bill to employ a lawyer in this Nigeria, it's very, 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 very expensive. So I would just urge the people in this judiciary system to help us.
Most of the time, some people are in the case of custody and that the crime that they did, they are not aware of the crime, and you see that because of what the rich of people, they will make them to poison other people. Because of what the less privileged, they are poor, they don't have people to fight for them, and they will use that opinion against them. Why? Most of the time, you will see that this man is an innocent. For him to fight for himself, he don't have the capacity of the money. But the justice, they know that what this man is standing for. But because of that, they will use it against him. That's why most of people today, they are in the prison today. They are not in their fault. Why? Because of other people's money are already taken away. But if our judiciary can take notice of this, the country can move better and what? Access.
It's open to everybody to the extent that there is nothing clogging or stopping you from approaching the courts or from putting the machinery of justice into motion on your behalf. But at the same time, there are also big limitations which owe a lot to the current economic situation in the country. You cannot simply say it that justice is accessible to everybody when and where to get legal services. It's not easy. Even when there is such a thing as legal aid, it's not readily accessible to the greatest population, or to the greatest number of the masses. So there is nothing stopping you. If you want legal services or if you want access to justice, you can say everybody is there for everybody. But it's an entirely different thing as to if you can afford it. There is the issue of the snail speed of justice administration.
Okay, welcome back. It is still Good Morning Anambra, and are looking at this nagging topic. Thank God I have people that really know what to say about it. People that are involved in what is going on in judicial reform in Anambra State. I still have Jerry Baby with me, and then Ifeanyi Ogwejofo. I hope I'm right. Okay, gentlemen. Yes, before we left, we were talking we talked about delay of justice. I wanted to buttress because I told you the discussion I had with one area commander where I was accusing police that there are people that are delaying justice. It's not it's the lawyers, okay, that are doing this. Now sometimes they want it to drag and drag and drag. We are actually talking about this no-gree something. If they look at this guy that are doing no-gree, now somebody is dead, that this one is going to be reprimanded for the next 6 to 8 months before he will even go to court. I say, why? Why should somebody be kept for that long? That was where that discussion, took off from. So, what is the role of the judiciary? Judiciary. Okay. What is the role of Anambra lawyers? Let me just come here, okay, to ensure that this reform will work and work effectively. Jerry.
Thank you very much. Well, before now, the pace at which our judicial system worked was very slow. But with these innovations that we have talked about, one of which is that there's now a remand protocol which is now provided for in the ACJL, Administration of Criminal Justice Law of Anambra State, which limits the period of remand awaiting trial to 90 days. Once it is 90 days and there is no good cause shown why the inmate or the suspect should be further remanded, the court is empowered to release him on bail or discharge him as he deems fit.
Really?
Yes.
Good news. 90 days.
90 days.
3 months.
Yes, 3 months. Before now it was 150 days in the old ACJL, but now it has been further reduced. And again, it's not proper to keep on trading blames among the stakeholders in the justice sector, but the police is the first contact that every suspect or anybody in conflict with the law has. The police, because they effect the arrest, so the reports are made to them, they effect the arrest, and they do investigation. And then they arraign the person in court, even before it gets to the Minister of Justice, in deserving cases. Because there are some cases that the police try at the magistrate court. So they conclude it without even recourse to Minister of Justice. So the majority of the people or the criminals or the people in conflict with the law have their place with the police. It is the high-profile cases that go to Minister of Justice. Yes.
Okay, like murder case.
Like murder case, armed robbery, kidnapping, and other cases like that. Or when maybe the Minister of Justice wants to intervene, in a matter being tried by any other agency, which the court, the law empowers the Attorney General to do. We can take over proceedings at any time, on invitation or on petition.
So in the case of murder case, is it still 90 days?
Yes, all of the cases, 90 days, because the law is that within that 90 days, you have arrested somebody. The law expects that you would have done everything possible to bring the person to court before that time. If the person is in court within the period of 90 days, the court can now decide his fate, whether he will remain in custody during the trial or be released on bail. Okay. That's a different thing. But if nothing was done between that arrest and 90 days, the court should release him on bail. That's what the law is. And we know that the police is the one that does investigation. In some civilized crime, the investigation is concluded before arrest.
Yes.
But unfortunately in our jurisdiction here, upon report, somebody is arrested.
I was going to ask this question.
Somebody is arrested.
The issue of investigating somebody that is already in your custody.
Is the problem with investigative agencies. The investigation ought to have been concluded in the Western world. Once they arrest you, the next thing is arraignment. You don't arrest and start investigating. You investigate to lead you to arrest the right people. And that's why we do random arrests. We arrest some people who have no business in the whole complaint. And afterwards they are released and no remedies are given to them for their harassment, arrest, unlawful detentions.
But in this reform?
In this reform, unfortunately, the issue of arrest before investigation has not been completely dealt with.
I think it's going to be number one in there. No, because we just have to talk about it. It's going to be the number one because that's what is obtainable here.
Yes.
You just go and pick somebody
so.
and detain the person, and then you start investigation.
Unfortunately so.
Please, we may have to review that.
Well, I think there is a remedy to that effect. When the police arrest someone unlawfully or even without due cause, the person can, file a fundamental rights action. Actually, a lot of people know about this. A lot of people know about this when they know that the police
justly arrested.
Yes, when they know that the police searchlight is on them, they quickly go to court and file a fundamental rights action.
Is that why it was not captured in the bill?
Well,
arresting before investigation.
Well, it is in Nigeria. There are laws that fall under the federal,
like the Police Act,
by the Police Act, and then the one that Anambra State can make is with respect to procedure, the criminal justice, procedural laws. But when it comes,
it's difficult to talk to lawyers.
When it
it's okay.
Well, it is strictly a police issue. And it's only the federal government that can make laws about the police. You know? Yeah. It's quite unfortunate. But apart from the fundamental rights actions that a particular person can bring, you know, by the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, nobody ought to be detained for more than 48 hours without being taken to court. Yeah, so when somebody is detained for a minor offense, the person can bring either that application for fundamental right before the court or an issue of bail before the police. But we all know that bail is not free. And bail is not free for the police. In principle. Really? Yeah, in principle.
Well, you told us that, okay, please say that bail is free.
Yes. The police will say that bail is free.
And the lawyer said it's not free.
In practice, it is not free.
So who's going to put it in action? So
these are the issues that we must have to look at. The federal government has to look at.
Oh, that one is federal government too.
And these are some of the...
These and
yes, and these are some of the...
federal.
Yeah, and because of that, a lot of people are making the case for police to, you know, come under the concurrent list, so that the state governments, can make laws and have their own state police. I believe that if the state governments have their own state police, all these issues will not come up, because there will be serious competition among the state governments. There will be serious competition. The police of any particular state would want to be seen to be, you know, doing their work in line with international best practices. Yes. You know, that healthy competition will be there. So I believe that just like my
best practices, you know, it sounds good when you hear it, but I don't think there's any way we'll capture it in our dealings when it comes to, you know, justices or police relationship with people or whatever. International best practices. When you watch cases from other countries, in fact, just by the way, I watched some prisons there. I feel like going to prison. Some prisons there are more beautiful than the house you live here, just that you don't move around.
Yes.
Okay, but the fact remains that why don't we align ourselves with the international best practices? Is it difficult?
It's about taking the bull by the horn, you know, taking that moral responsibility to make the laws and enforce them.
Okay.
To make the laws and enforce.
Okay, before we went on break, I said that we're going to look at the role of technology in this new reform, because now it is a file. Is there anything we can do with the new technology to ensure that we have very good reform? When we say that this that's a reformation, you will see what is reform like. Not that these ones that you guys are dodging under my table now. Yes. what role will the technology, I mean, play in this new reform? Yeah,
it is already in motion. It's already in motion. There are practice directions, you know, made by the Honorable Chief Judge of Anambra State to the effect that service online is deemed adequate service. And because of that, no particular party or lawyer can eventually now say that he wasn't served in his office, and because of that, it is not adequate service. So if you look at most of the courts in Anambra State, especially the high courts, you will see technological equipment inside the courts to encourage virtual hearing. So because of that, it is part of...
Virtual hearing?
Yes, virtual hearing.
Is it the one that you guys apply in this tribunal, election tribunal, whereby you give judgments online?
No, that one is just airing the judgment. But what we are talking about is the trial proper. The trial proper can be done virtually. A witness can be in any part of the world and give evidence in Anambra State.
What about the guy being tried?
The guy being tried has to be in court. The guy being tried has to be in court, or by the
prison or correctional center.
If he is in the correctional center, that virtual hearing can also be conducted. But I wouldn't know if the correctional facilities have that equipment to...
Facilities are in the market.
I think they have.
It's just the willpower, you know, to equip all those places.
The truth is that the COVID era brought to the fore a lot of innovation in technology.
Yeah.
Because it became obvious that there may be situations where physical interaction may be impossible, as it was during the COVID era. And then the courts, our judicial sector, have also bought into the innovations. You know, like my learned friend just said, we have, the governor has graciously approved, and the facilities have been installed in all the courts, high courts in Anambra State. Except the magistrate courts, though, they are now in the high courts. You know,
is it going to be extended to magistrate?
Yes, there are plans that in due course, because these things, I think they are capital intensive, yes. And the state government with its lean resources may not be able to take on a whole lot now. But for now, they are in the high courts and also in the correctional centers. I think the 4 correctional centers we have in Anambra State, they are also installed there. Even the evidence recording room have also been put in place in some of these police stations. The problem we have is enforcing these laws and using them. Using them? Yes.
Because we want to, you know, avoid some cutting of corners. We don't want to use them because they man image. Okay. So, these are the things that we need to work on. We need to work on to bring in that, you know, international best practices that we're talking about. You don't want to, you know, look like an American police and yet you behave like a Wari police.
I believe we are on course because it's not just the justice sector. We start with the infrastructures like electricity. We don't have steady electricity. So even if we want to work these things, the facilities, the infrastructures that will carry these things are not there. Yeah. So these are the challenges.
Okay. All right. Not surmountable anyway. Not unsurmountable.
Yeah, they are not.
Okay, how can collaborations between the government, NGOs, private sector effectively drive this criminal justice and prison reform? Is there any way that this group can come together to ensure, because we talked about enlightenment, we've talked about so many things now, but that I know that you guys cannot do on your own. Is there any way you involve these people to collaborate with them to ensure that we drive home these new reforms? Yes.
Yes, there has been collaborations even in the past, because the government cannot do everything alone. And so we've had some private individuals look at the needs of in the judicial sector and make attempts to solve some of these problems. I recall there's a lawyer friend of mine who renovated a customary court in Ayamelum area, where the court was totally dilapidated and the roof had gone off, but he saw that need and approached the president of that court and proposed to renovate, and somehow he was allowed to do that. But you know why it is a sensitive issue?
Is it from that side?
I'm not sure where he is from.
Even if he is from that side.
I'm not sure where he is. But the problem is that, you know, the judiciary, by its very nature, ought to maintain a high level of independence from interaction with the general public and other government arms, so that it will be able to exercise independent decisions in most of the decisions that are coming out. And that has been the bane of our judiciary in this country, because even though in principle there is that independence, in practice we don't know how far that independence is respected.
Why are you not fighting for the independence? I didn't want to go there, but now that you have brought it up, Mama muna gem why pempos no nya na mebu mba de mebu onwe ije asigi je waru je de ma waru nka obuku mebu igotago if na mmadụ ji ife gị kedu ife na eme ka iwe napụta ya ife gị oji. There are a whole lot of things you can do. You can shut down this nation. Judiciary. But you guys are always complaining. But let's leave it there. Would you say that judiciary has really fared well? Because the judiciary they were before Anambra. Have you really fared well, judging from how the general public see you within the okay, just say last 1 year. Yes.
Well,
finally,
yes.
because we are running off.
Yeah, I believe so. You know, in the light of these new innovations, judiciary is a major stakeholder in the criminal justice sector, and that's why we have that phrase that the judiciary is the last hope of the common man.
Don't say that.
But it is true. It's true. I believe that.
Okay, maybe after the reforms.
Yes, I believe that the judiciary have done quite so well. There has been several, laws that have come up, especially apart from the laws, the practice directions, that has come up to make sure that there is a quick dispensation of justice. Right now, there is also a practice direction that came into effect from this year, 1st of January 2024, to the effect that criminal matters ought to be heard expeditiously and before any other matter on the cost list. So I believe that all these mechanisms that are already in place would aid the quick dispensation of justice, and at the end of the day it will be justice for all, not just for the prosecutor and the defendant, but justice even for the reasonable man on the streets. So I believe that Anambra judiciary and by extension all the major stakeholders in the justice sector reform team are doing very well, but there is room for improvement.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much. I am Barrister Ifeanyi Ogwejofo, Assistant Chief State Counsel and the Legal Advisor to the Secretary to the State Government, SSG. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay.
Thank you.
I didn't want to give you that last opportunity to talk because I know I can't defeat you guys, but I've tried my best. Okay. So Barrister Jerry Emebie, Principal State Counsel, Anambra State Minister of Justice, and then also the prosecution lawyer. Thank you for coming this morning.
Thank you, and thank you viewers for listening.
Oh, yeah, I've had my fill. It was good having you around. Thank you. Oh, yes, thank you, the camera guy. Thank you, the Good Morning Anambra team this morning, especially the producer, Ifi, and Chichi. Thank you very much. You were done. My name is Sijama. God keeping us will be here tomorrow to continue from where we stopped, okay? Bye for now.